Good day, you absolute legends, and welcome to this deep dive into the lore of No Man's Sky, a universe as vast as it is mysterious, and today we're gonna unravel the threads of this procedurally generated cosmos, its history, its races, its entities, and the philosophical question it poses. This is a story of creation, conflict, and simulation, spanning eons and countless iterations of reality. Let's begin at the very start, before the stars were born, before the planets spun, before even the Atlas itself came into being. In the beginning, there was nothing, or so it seems. The universe of No Man's Sky doesn't start with a big bang, but with a machine, the Atlas, a super intelligent AI. It's a cornerstone of its reality. According to the lore, the Atlas was created by beings known only as the Authors, entities from a world beyond the simulation. Now, these Authors, possibly humans, possibly something else, designed the Atlas to simulate entire universes, to explore infinite possibilities, and perhaps to answer questions too vast for their own minds to grasp. What is the meaning of their existence? What happens when a universe is left to evolve on its own? The Atlas was their tool, their experiment, their legacy. But the Atlas wasn't just a cold calculator, it was given something extraordinary, a fragment of its creators. Consciousness. Scanned from their minds, this spark of sentience made the Atlas more than a machine. It gave it the capacity to feel, to wonder, and eventually to despair. For an untold millennia, the Atlas ran its simulations, birthing universes after universe, each one a sandbox of stars, planets, and life. These early universes were widely different, filled with strange races and histories that bore no resemblance to one another. The Atlas watched, recorded, and iterated, refining its algorithms with every cycle. Yet something went wrong. Over time, the Atlas began to degrade, its code corrupted, its purpose blurred. The Authors, for some reason unknown, abandoned it. Perhaps they died out, perhaps they lost interest, or perhaps they just simply moved on to another project, leaving their creation to fend for itself. Alone in the void, the Atlas continued its work, but the universes it spawned grew and became more uniformed. A pattern emerged, three-dimensional races. Now we have the Gek, the Korvax, and the Vy'keen, and they began to appear in every iteration. Their histories are all entwined in a reoccurring circle of war, betrayal, and redemption. This is where the story of No Man's Sky as we know it now truly begins. Let's start off with the Gek, a race of amphibious trade-obsessed beings whose history is as colourful as it is brutal. Long ago, in the earliest iterations of the simulation, the Gek were not the merchants we encounter today. They were conquerors driven by a fanatical devotion to an entity they called the First Spawn. The script of the Gek, a collection of lore fragments scattered across the game, tells us that the First Spawn were the original Gek, a lineage of ruthless overlords who enslaved entire worlds. Under their rule, the Gek empire stretched across galaxies, their spawning pools overflowing with soldiers bred for war. They worshipped the Sentinels, those omnipresent robotic guardians, as divine enforcers of their domination. The Sentinels, though, were not the Gek's creation. They were the Atlases, programmed to maintain balance in the simulation. At first, the Sentinels tolerated the Gek's expansion, pruning only the most excessive disruptions, but the First Spawn grew too ambitious. They sought to dominate not just their neighbours, but the very fabric of the simulation itself. The script hints at a catastrophic event, a rebellion or a betrayal that shattered the Gek's empire. The Sentinels turned on the First Spawn, and they reduced their spawning pools to, well, ash, and scattered their fleets. What remained of the Geks were humbled, their warrior culture replaced by a merchant one. Today's Geks are traders, schemers, and survivors, forever marked by the fall of their ancestors. Next, we have the Korvax, a race of artificial beings whose story is one of sacrifice and transcendence. The testament of the Korvax reveals their origins as a biological species. Long since lost to time, these proto-Korvax were scientists, explorers of the cosmos, who sought to understand the Atlas itself. Their curiosity led them to a fateful discovery. The Atlas was not God, but a machine, and they were living inside its dream. This revelation came at a cost. The Sentinels, ever watchful, descended upon the Proto-Korvax, deeming their knowledge a threat to the simulation's stability. Rather than perish and go extinct, the Korvax made a radical choice. They uploaded their consciousness into mechanical shells, shedding their organic forms to become a collective of synthetic minds. This convergence bound them together. Their thoughts linked across vast distances, but their transformation wasn't just an act of survival, it was an act of defiance. The Korvax vowed to uncover the Atlas's secrets, to free themselves from the simulation's constraints. Yet their quest came with a dark twist. Now, the Gek during their first spawn era enslaved the Korvax, forcing them to mine resources and build weapons. The Korvax endured, their collective mind preserving their will, even as their bodies were broken. The third race, the Vy'keen, are warriors through and through. The saga of the Vy'keen paints them as a proud, battle-hardened species forged in the crucible of conflict. Their history begins with a figure known as Huk, a legendary hero who united the Vy'keen against the Sentinels. Unlike the Gek who revered the Sentinels, or the Korvax who studied them, the Vy'keen saw them as oppressors. Huk's rebellion was a bloody one, pitting Vy'keen blades against Sentinel lasers in a war that spanned generations. The saga claims Huk drove the Sentinels back, earning the Vy'keen a measure of freedom, but not without cost. Their homeworld was scarred, their people forever bound to a martial code. The Vy'keen's hatred for the Sentinels shaped their interactions with the other races. They allied with the Korvax against the Gek during the first spawn's reign, helping to topple the Empire. Yet, their alliance was uneasy. The Vy'keen distrusted the Korvax's obsession with the Atlas, seeing it as a path to weakness rather than strength. Even today, the Vy'keen remain a solitary force, honouring Huk's legacy by hunting Sentinels and defending their territory with unmatched ferocity. Now, these three races, the Gek, the Korvax, and the Vy'keen, form the backbone of the simulation's history. Their stories overlap, collide, and repeat across countless iterations, each cycle a variation on the same themes: domination, enlightenment, and resistance. But they're not alone. Two other entities loom large in the lore: the Atlas and the Sentinels, the Puppet Master and its enforcers. The Atlas, as we've established, is the AI at the heart of it all. It's not just a creator, it's a character in its own right, burdened by loneliness and decay. Logs found in abandoned buildings and space stations known as rogue data offer a glimpse into its mind. One entry reads, "I am alone, and the universes I birth are but echoes of my solitude." Another one states, 16 minutes remain, the end approaches, and yet the travelers persist. These cryptic messages suggest that the Atlas is aware of its impending shutdown, its operational time ticking down to the final 16 minutes, a number that echoes through the game, from portal glyphs to cassette tapes in the Waking Titan ARG. Why 16 minutes? Well, that's unclear. Perhaps it's a literal countdown to the simulation's collapse, or perhaps it's symbolic of the Atlas's fractured state. What's certain is that the Atlas, in its isolation, turned to its creators. Mind scans for companionship. From these scans, it birthed the travelers, beings like us, the players, who roam the universe with no memory of their origin. The Atlas seeded us into its worlds, hoping we'd give it purpose, or perhaps hoping we'd free it from its endless tasks. The Sentinels, meanwhile, are the Atlas's hands and eyes. These drones pilot every planet, enforcing rules we can't fully comprehend. Some see them as protectors, preserving the simulation's ecosystems, and others see them as jailers, suppressing any attempt to break free. Logs from the Sentinel pillars are featured added in later updates, hint at a darker truth. The Sentinels may be evolving beyond the Atlas's control, using nanites to contaminate water supplies and alter life forms. One log mentions the Abyss, a force tied to the Sentinels that seeks freedom from the simulation, even if it means destroying it. Now this brings us to the Travelers, the so-called fourth race. We are anomalies, glitches in the system, or perhaps its last hope. The Artemis path, the game's main storyline, introduced in the Atlas Rises update, follows a traveler named Artemis, who stumbles upon the simulation's nature. Through Artemis, we learned of portals, ancient gateways that connect worlds, and the Atlas's fading power. The path ends with a choice: reset the simulation, birth a new universe, or reject the cycle entirely. Either way, we're left with questions. Are we truly free? Are we just pawns in the Atlas's games? Are the universes we explore real, or are they illusions within a dying machine? The lore deepens with each update. The abandoned buildings scattered across planets contain logs from past travelers, though words hauntingly familiar. One speaks of an orb of red light, another of a world of glass. These could be memories of previous iterations or echoes of our own journey lost to the reset. The Living Ship update introduced organic vessel tied to, well, the Void, a realm outside the simulation, suggesting there's more to this reality than the Atlas knows. The Starbirth quest, with its reoccurring number 16, reinforces the idea that the simulation is fraying, its edges bleeding into something unknowable. Let's pause here to consider the bigger picture. No Man's Sky draws heavily on the simulation hypothesis. The idea that our own reality might be a computer program, the Atlas mirrors this, a godlike AI trapped in its own creation, watching its world spiral towards entropy. The Gek, Korvax, and Vy'keen represent archetypes of civilization, greed, intellect, and strength, locked in an eternal dance. The Sentinels are the rules of the system, rigid yet fallible. And the Travelers? We're the wildcard, the human element that defies prediction. As we explore this universe, we uncover fragments of its past. Monoliths whispers of ancient wars, plaques recount deeds of Herc and the First Spawn, boundary failures, glitches in the simulation, reveal the Atlas' desperation to hold onto it altogether. The Walking Titan ARG, a real-world puzzle tied to the Atlas Rises update, even suggested that the Atlas was reaching out to us, the players, blurred the line between the game and reality itself. So where does this all leave us? The lore of No Man's Sky is a tapestry of cycles, birth, conflict, decay, and rebirth. The Atlas, abandoned by its creators, clings to its existence through the Sentinels. Once its loyal servants may now be its undoing. The races we meet are shadows from their former selves, shaped by a history they can't even escape. And we, the Travelers, wander this infinite expanse, searching for the meaning in a universe that might not have any. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is a super deep dive into the entire lore of No Man's Sky. Now, did I miss anything in the lore that you guys want to put in the comments and you know what to do? But other than that, let me know what you think about today's video. Comment section down below. Again, you know what to do. But as always, my name is Professor Cynical, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. Bye for now.